The Cleveland Cavaliers have a few areas of need to address this offseason. Adding a reliable backup 5 is currently among them in my opinion. This team desperately needs somebody who can spell Jarrett Allen on a night-to-night basis who shares a similar skill set. They can scour the depths of free agency to acquire such a player or toy with the idea of bringing veteran center Tristan Thompson back for one more season. Hell, they could even try and acquire one by way of a trade. But one of the options that should absolutely be on the table is to look to the upcoming 2024 NBA draft, where there are a large number of possible fits for this team. And now that we know where Cleveland will be selecting, one of the prospects who I feel would fit what the Cavs need in a backup 5 is none other than Baylor center Yves Missi. Offensively speaking, Missy is far from a unique talent. He is, however, a highly athletic finisher around the rim and one hell of a dunker. He isn't afraid of contact and regularly slammed it down over would-be defenders on both lob attempts and while cutting to the basket. The power and explosiveness behind some of his jams is eye-popping. His catch radius would be a boon to the Cavs considering the substantial amount of playmaking present on the roster. If you throw the ball up in his general vicinity, he has the hands and coordination to bring it down due to being such a large target out there. Missy was 14th in the nation in dunks this season. He was the only freshman in the top 20 this year, finishing an impressive 59 and 67 as a dunker in his lone season at Baylor. Now at this stage, Missy cannot create for himself, and he may never truly be able to. He typically has to have offense created for him, but there is nothing wrong with that. He excels at off-ball motion plays, with his bread and butter being that of the pick and roll, an area in which he can be a massive threat. This aligns with what the Cavaliers like to do. The team ranks 12th in points scored by the pick and roll men and pick and roll sets as of recording this. He could have lots of gravity as a screener and roller. He reminds me a lot of Clint Capella or even Mark Williams. Two players who are not stars by any means, but two that can be stars in their respective roles at times. Missy could be much the same given his skill set. Just imagine what he could do beside NBA caliber facilitators. He could be a force in the painted area, completing everything coming his way, whether it's a lob, dump off, or putback. Missy is also quite a skilled rebounder. He would have finished his freshman season with an average of 5.6 boards per game. Now that doesn't sound particularly dominant, but when you consider the fact that he only saw the floor for about 22.9 minutes per game, it's pretty eye-opening. His 9.8 rebounds per 40 minutes really sheds some light on just how effective the young man could be if given more time. He is as dependable on the defensive glass as they come, pulling down defensive boards at a 16.4% percentage, which ranked 18th in the conference. The big man is perhaps even more effective on the offensive glass. His 89 total offensive rebounds ranked 4th in the Big 12 Conference. In addition to that, the advanced numbers seem to suggest that Missy could have even higher potential in that regard. His offensive rebound percentage of 14.6 led the conference. With Missy's physical makeup and his vertical athleticism, it's not very hard to envision him battling for loose boards at the NBA level. He clearly has a high motor out there, which is something you cannot teach. You either have it or you don't. This is something that NBA teams surely would covet considering offensive rebounds generally mean more possessions and therefore more opportunities to score. And after watching the Cavaliers struggle at points over the years in this regard, I would happily welcome his arrival. He is a constant putback threat as he is persistent, aggressive, and considering the fact that he is only just coming into his body, he should continue to get stronger at the NBA level. Outside of that offensively, there isn't much more to his game. He isn't a playmaker by any means. I mean, he literally finished the season with just 13 total assists all season and had an assist percentage of 3.4%. He can create space for others with the gravity he draws as a roller, but outside of that, don't expect him to be a connective piece of tissue or to set his guys up outside of providing off-ball screens that give them space. This means that his ceiling might be a little on the lower side than other prospects in this class, but his floor is still quite high enough to be considered safe. He could very easily be a day one contributor. Defensively, Missy has much to offer as his versatility on that end could make him a near seamless fit for most defensive schemes. His measurables are pretty damn insane as he stands at 6'11 or 7 foot with a massive 7'6 wingspan depending upon where you look and has a 9'1" standing reach. In other words, he has true 5-man size. His strong frame, long arms, and vertical bounce protect him to be a viable rim protector at the next level. Something that the Cavaliers could always use more of to counteract deploying such a small backcourt and that of Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. That size and length aids him when defending the pick and roll. especially in drop coverage, where he can use that length to force ball handlers into taking tough twos by challenging their shots at the rim. It's something that we saw him do consistently at the collegiate level. He is truly a force at the rim, constantly patrolling the painted area and awaiting drivers. His 1.5 blocks per game ranked 4th in the Big 12 Conference, and his block percentage of 7.3 ranked even higher at 3rd in the conference. He knows how to leverage his God-given physical tools to his advantage and is able to translate them to on-court production. His physical proportions make him very difficult to pass and shoot over. His timing is great. He has a great range of motion and can move his hips well to counter spin moves or changes of pace or direction from a ball handler, and showcases good recovery when hedging. And while I don't necessarily see the same level of switchability that our own Evan Mobley or even Jarrett Allen have, Missy could definitely step out on the perimeter from time to time to deter guards and wings, usually waiting right up until they are about to finish their shot to swat it. Missy's weaknesses are pretty easy to spot with the eye test. He doesn't have the ability to handle and should not be trusted to put the ball on the floor ever. He does pretty much all of his work operating off ball, waiting to be set up by the ball handler. He doesn't have much touch either, something that is perhaps best evidenced by the fact that he shot an icy 61.6% from the charity stripe this year. The former Baylor big man is also not a threat to space the floor in the slightest, as he has failed to attempt a single triple over the course of his 34 appearances. This is an area of his game that I don't ever see developing, honestly. On the defensive end, he can lean a little too much on his athleticism to make plays rather than proper positioning or discipline. He needs to utilize his hands more rather than having them at his side, which greatly reduces how effective he can be, especially when defending the pick and roll. He can be prone to chasing blocks at times rather than trying to stay down and take away shots. This can leave him out of position to secure defensive rebounds. Missy also suffers from foul trouble like many young bigs do. He averaged 4.2 fouls per 40 minutes. He bites at pump fakes and goes block hunting. This all comes back to discipline though, which could be the difference between him having a high minute role early on and a low minute role. The big man is also a little on the lighter side of the scale, weighing in at just over 235 pounds. It would definitely be in his best interest to put on some weight. Overall, I think the Ringer's Kevin O'Connor summed Yves Missy's game up best by saying that Missy is a high flyer who can punish the rim on offense and protect the paint on defense. This is a player who I believe can have a bright and productive future at the NBA level. I think that he could contribute day one for this Cavaliers team. And now that we know where they are selecting, time will tell what direction the Cavs will go in.